Hello YouTube, hello, and we're back. Of course, as we always are. And today we're going to be talking about pressing. Well, not us pressing, the opponent pressing. Because I saw that some of you guys have been having some trouble with this, and here it is. I made a YouTube video about it. So yeah, let's start. So the vid, as I already said, is gonna be about how to deal with the opponent pressing into you, or these so-called mashers. What do we do about them, right? So let me give you guys examples of everything, obviously, right? So let's say something like this is happening. Look at the Hwoarang, right? I also purposely chose Hwoarang as an example because Hwoarang is one of those characters that can pressure you very, very easily, and they will pressure you, obviously, right? That's the kind of character Hwoarang is. So when you are dealing with something like this kind of pressure, what can you really do? Because if you don't know a lot, let's say you don't know the strings that much, what are your options, realistically speaking, in general? If you know the options, obviously, and know the string or know the things you're blocking, you'll already know what to do. But other than that, a little bit more generic options, what do you do? So there are actually 3, maybe 4. Okay, let's say 3. 3 ways you can deal with them. So one is via movement. So this kind of strings, and usually everything in this game has some sort of opening. Every kind of offense will have some sort of opening, unless you count some heat offense, I think. Some heat offense, just you can't really do anything much about it unless you block it, right? But yeah, let's just not talk about heat for now, but let's see this, whatever we're seeing on the screen. What can you do? So the first thing, movement. Movement is very important. So when I say movement, it's either backdashing, so I'm going to demonstrate this, like I'm just going to mash backpack. I'm mashing backpack, right? And if you guys notice, I'm slowly getting away from all this pressure. I will still get hit by some of the long range moves like that low out there. But the moment I get away from some of the pressure, let's say I backdash away, I can take my turn back by, let's say, doing a fast move like a jab. If your character actually has a jab, unlike Azir, that will hit, for example. Right? Or you can just take your turn back via something else and just press something else as well. Like I'm getting away, but maybe a power crush. Right, so a simple backdash, even without a Korean backdash, by the way, I was just pressing back, which is a generic method of backdashing, right? Something like this. It's not this, which is a Korean backdash. Korean backdash can maybe get more space in some situations, but even a simple back motion, something like this, will work. That's one, right? Movement via backdashing. The other movement is sidestepping. Sidestepping is a little bit rougher because you have to know when to sidestep and what direction to sidestep. For example, in this situation, if I sidestep to the right, it can work, right? But you have to know, oh, sidestep right works. Or even in the same situation, sidestep left also works. But there are some situations where some sidesteps might not work, right? Sometimes it won't. Sometimes they will catch you. Like for example, you also have to know that this low right here, this low, can't really sidestep this. Right? If you're expecting something like that, you can't really step. That's a low you can't really sidestep most of the time, right? You can't really sidestep. So you have to know how to do this. But sidesteps are also openings that you can exploit. For example, whenever you block this high, this is also part of matchup knowledge, obviously, right? Block this high, you can sidestep this check, which is the down forward 4, and you can obviously electric or punish the Hwoarang player. So that's the second way to deal with it via movement. It's sidestepping. The other way to deal with it is just pure guessing. I know it's not really a way to deal with it, but it counts, right? For example, whenever you guess a low is coming, let's say I think there's a low coming after this, I just duck. I just duck. And if you guess the low, most lows are punishable in this game. Like 99% of the lows are punishable in this game. Right? So the moment you block it, let's say I just guess that there's a low, now I can punish. That's a punish. And now you not only get your turn back, but you also get a combo into, you know, maybe wall splat, whatever, into now your pressure starts. So that's another way of stopping offense, is to just guess the offense. If you're guessing a mid, you also have options. And the options are usually via boom. For example, if I guess the mid here, I sidestep instead of duck. So this is also a part of guessing. You can guess either low or mid. And mids sometimes have openings, just like I demonstrated with a sidestep. Some also have openings with a backdash, right? So these are just openings in offense that you can kind of find, or even do it without knowing it. A sidestep you have to know, but when it comes to ducking, you can't just guess there's a low coming based on the patterns of your opponent. Or you can just backdash away, right? Just backdash away and you'll get away. Sooner or later you might get away. and while you're also staying safe because you're just pressing back, right? It's not that big of a deal. So those are two already that I mentioned, right? Guessing and movement. The third one is pressing. So you have to press yourself, but it's important what you press. Very important actually what you press. You cannot press anything too slow because usually it won't work in these kind of situations. So let's say I press something like a forward 4, which is a 19 frame move. Pretty slow. And if I press that, even in these situations, I will just get hit. Right? There's not a single situation, even if I block, where I will win this interaction. Right? Not a single situation. I'm blocking these moves, but my mashing doesn't work because I'm mashing something slow. Now, if you want to mash something, the best recommendations I would have are either get panic moves that have some sort of evasion, or the two generic options that everyone's gonna have. I'm not gonna mention the panic moves because that's a little bit more character specific. You guys will know that a little bit better than me for your own character. But the generic option is power crush. Let's say you block something, power crush, right? So it's important to block something and then power crush. So I'm blocking, let's say, all of this. Obviously, it will not work on lows, just like demonstrated there. The lows still hit me, it won't work. But you can just mash power crush. Let's say I just mash power crush. Like I'm literally just pressing forward to it. I'm just pressing. It might just work. It might just work, right? Obviously, it's not as good if you get hit. Sometimes it will never work if you get hit. For example, in this situation, after this low, I'm mashing power crush. I'm just getting hit. I am just getting hit, right? So be careful when it comes to pressing this button when you're getting hit. If you press it when you're blocking, it's a little bit better. Obviously, right? The other button I would also recommend is a down jab. Right, down jab is fast. Even this mid, sometimes you can beat some sort of mid options. This ones you can't beat. I'm gonna be honest. I just messed up the Huaranga string there, but down jab is a very, very good button to press. Let's say here, right? Let's say there. The moment you block, let's say that mid and you down jab, it can work. In some other situations, it won't work. For example, if I press here, not here. After this jab, it won't work. But after the mid, it will work. So it's either a down jab or a power crush that I would recommend the most. I am Mr. Down Jab, obviously. So down jabs are good, power crushes are good. But there are a lot of other openings that you can also use, which I said panic buttons, but you can also press some other stuff like, for example, parries. For example, if I block this mid, I can just punch parry because there's a punching coming, right? So parries can also work. All of these are options that you do have. But the last one, I'm not too sure if I could call it an option, that's why I said 3 and not 4, is to just block. Sometimes you just block and wait for a move that you block to get your turn back. And this is a very good strategy, just being patient basically. It is a very good strategy because sooner or later, they will most likely press something that's either 1, punishable, or 2, minus enough for you to get your turn back. Let me give you examples of this. Right, so instead of doing all of that pressure, let's say he does something like this, that's a punishable move. This is just an example, right? You won't really see Huarang players do this ever, obviously, but this is a punishable move. So if you wait for a punishable move like this, you'll be able to punish it, and then get your turn back, and then pressure them back, right? That's one. Wait and keep blocking until you see something like this. That's one example of a punishable move. The other example is a non-punishable move that's minus, which is something like that. So this is something you will actually see sometimes, this kick right here, which is minus, and then you'll be able to, you know, pressure them because it's -9. -9 obviously has mind games of its own. If you want to, like, more detailed stuff about mind games, I made like 3 YouTube vids about it, pretty sure, so you can check that out. But usually you can press something like forward 4 here, even something a little bit slow, to check them because it's a frame trap, unless they power crush. If they power crush, then you have to do something faster. So simple mind game here, do fast moves to check them, a little bit slower moves if you want a little bit of a mix-up, like forward 4 or down back 4, and just, you know, get your turn back when you block these kind of moves. But you have to know what you're blocking. That's important, right? You have to know. But you can also kind of feel what some moves are on block. Like some of them you can kind of tell they're higher minus than not, and some of them you can tell they're plus. There are some exceptions to this, obviously, right? There are a lot of exceptions to this, but you can kind of tell. So these are basically the ways 4 ways basically, if you count the block, to deal with it. One is to wait, just block, like wait for something, all of that pressure, wait for this one move, let's say, that you block, and then you can continue your pressure and you get your turn back. If they still pressing, checking is what you want to do, and checking is in general a safer option here, right? Especially if you have a generic down 4-1, it's great because you're still gonna have your turn. It's like -1 or -2 most of the time. So that's one. You just wait, either something that's high minus or something that's punishable, like this. 1-1-2 into you get your pressure back. So now you just dealt with whatever he was doing because he was pressing a lot. And the other one is that, as I mentioned, to either use movement via backdashing, just press back, and you sooner or later you might get away, something like this, right? I just got away by pressing back, or knowing exact timing for side steps and using the side steps to your advantage for higher reward. Higher risk, but higher reward. That's one. Movement I already mentioned, and blocking I already mentioned. Guessing is another one that I also talked about. You just have to guess something, and if you guess it, you're gonna have your turn back. Especially if you block something punishable, which most lows are. And if you block something punishable that's a mid, that will also work. Right? Amazing. The last thing I also mentioned was pressing. You just press something like down jab, power crush, something like that. But yeah, it's kind of more complicated than I explained. I tried to explain it more simply because there's a lot of characters out there, there's a lot of pressure out there, different kinds of pressure. But a little bit of an extra tip I can give you guys is that a lot of moves, a lot of characters are based on pressure and low frames. For example, Hwoarang with this, it's very, very hard to actually press into him when he does something like this. Because if you pay attention, he is plus almost all the time. Look at Hwoarang's frames, +5, +4, +5, into +14, +5, +4. But this is all plus. All of them are just plus all the time. So it's very hard to press into it unless you maybe power push. Or even down jab, as I already mentioned. So characters have this kind of sequences if they're designed that way. Steve is another example. Also Hwoarang is an example, right? So you kind of have to know that, okay, I can't really press much there, so let me try move. Let me just wait and block. Sometimes you have to make these decisions. And as I already mentioned, in heat, sometimes you have to block even more than normal. If they're in heat, it's very risky to press anything. Very risky, because a lot of things will attract, and a lot of things will break your power crushes like a heat smash. A lot of heat smashes, not all of the heat smashes will break your power crush. So you have to be very, very careful here. So sometimes blocking is the correct decision. But if you want to deal with mashers and pressers, there's always a gap in their offense, almost always. So you can just wait for it, or lab it, or whatever. But the generic options, and the way I can explain these options, is this. Well, I already did. But yeah, YouTube, big thank you for watching. Thank you for watching, guys, once again. And I'll see everyone in the next one. Till then.